Okay. I'm asking about women in politics and the lack of women in politics and how it affects legislation and policy making. This year, 15% of the election candidates were women. Out of 166 elected, only 25 were women, and out of 15 ministries, only 2 were women. Do you think the lack of women in politics is affecting the policy making that affects women and children? Because the CSO figures said that the only group in society that has increased in poverty are women and children.
Well, I believe there's far broader factors influencing the status of women and children within our society than whether women are holding elected office. What you said there about the low number of women that are holding elected office is a real problem for our political system. But it's not just political life that is affected by that. Business life, the people who are leading our larger organisations, the composition of our boardrooms suffers from the same issue. And I know from somebody who's involved in a political party and trying to organise that political party at election time, we fall over ourselves trying to get women onto the election ticket come election time, because we know it's the right thing for political life. We also know what kind of traction we have for trying to get women to stand for political office. There are broader factors that are restraining their interest in doing it and their ability to do it. And I'd contend they're the same factors that influence the number of women that are in our boardrooms or not in our boardrooms, which is about the way family life is organised in Ireland, about the support that's open or not open to parents that want to step out of the workplace. And I think the only factor that makes life in Leinster House different to, for example, life in business would be that if you do get elected to the Dáil or the Seanad, you have to be in a place in Dublin 3 days a week. That doesn't suit people who have their families in Donegal or Kerry or Mayo or anywhere outside of commuting distance of Dublin. In terms of your broader point regarding does it influence public policy, the answer to that question is yes. Because if you have an undiverse group of people making those decisions, it does influence the quality of those decisions. And for example, the NIBORG report there that came out 2 weeks ago that examined our banking and financial policy emphasised the importance of groupthink and herd mentality in leading to our difficulties. And lack of women at that level does contribute to that. Do I believe it specifically has led to a deterioration in the status of children within our society? I don't accept that contention. I think it has contributed to it, but I think there's far broader forces at play, and I would contend that men feel as strongly about the status of children as anybody else does.
What about policies, though, that affect women? Do you think it affects, because there isn't very many women in politics, that the legislation that affects women isn't coming into play?
But again, if you look at the last number of years of Irish public life, the Minister for Health was a woman, the Minister for Social Protection was a woman, our President is a woman, and while there are undoubtedly, as you well said yourself, far fewer women in political office than there should be, the key ministries that do affect the issues that you and I are talking about have been held by women.
Do you think that there should be a minimum number of women that have to go for election or have to be elected? That there has to be a minimum, or just the way it is at the moment?
And that's the issue of quotas. Yeah. And I've changed my mind in relation to that. I used to believe that we should not have a quota system here in Ireland. I now believe we should have a quota system for a temporary period of time to give a short and sharp injection into the political system to increase the representation that's there. I don't believe it should be permanent, because if it's permanent, bad now, that we have to do something more radical about it. And interesting, Enda Kenny, the leader of my own party, when we were in opposition, he came out to say he wanted quotas. The people who opposed him the strongest were women.
That's great. Thank you very much for that interview. Thank you, Paschal.
Pleasure.